Welcome back to the SportsMax Zone. We are into the fast lane now. Hosts USA sit atop the leaderboard on day 5 of the World Athletics Championship in Eugene, Oregon, with 16 medals, 6 gold, 4 silver and 6 bronze medals. Ethiopia coming next with 6 medals, 3 gold and 3 bronze. Jamaica are 4th with 1 gold, 2 silver and a bronze medal. Shanika Ricketts putting in a silver medal last night. The effort on day 4 producing a season's best 14.37 meters in the women's triple jump. Gold went to the outstanding Venezuelan Yulimar Rojas with a mark of 15.47 meters, a world-leading mark as well. Action continues tonight with medals to be decided in 4 events: the women's high jump, the men's discus throw, men's 1500 meters, and the men's 400-meter hurdles. Of course, the schedule there also showing semi-final action in the women's 200 meters, where the Jamaicans are looking for more medals. Semi-finals of the men's 200 meters will also be on tap. Now, joining us to analyze the action in Tracktown is Leighton Levy. Leighton, let's start with Shanika Ricketts' performance in the women's triple jump. No medals in the women's triple jump since 2005 for Tricia K. Smith when she won gold there. But back-to-back silver medals now, Doha 2019, and now in Eugene for Shanika Ricketts.
Absolutely, and the stat there you have is wrong. She jumped 14.89 and 14.37. She had 3 jumps over 14.8 and over. Her opening jump was the jump that actually ended up with her the silver medal, yes, because that was her best jump for the year by about 7 centimeters. She had a 14.82 in May, and this is coming off some knee injuries that impacted her early season preparation, so she perhaps could have been better. But this is a nice rebound for her after finishing 4th at the Olympics last year.
Yeah, and Rojas completely dominant, and her very last effort could have challenged her world record, but she took off so far behind the board.
Yeah, Lance, look, these days in the triple jump for women, everybody has jumps for silver, because the reality is Yulimar Rojas is so far ahead of the rest of the field. I mean, she had 4 jumps over 15 meters. Nobody else was even close to 15 meters, including Shanika Ricketts, who was 11 centimeters shy of the 15-meter mark. Rojas is like what Bolt was in the 100 meters once he was healthy. It was just a matter of who's competing for 2nd and 3rd. That's how inferior she is, and of course the reality is, she said prior to competition, she believes that she has 60 meters within her, and based on what we've seen so far, you can't dispute that, because she's so far ahead of the rest of the field.
Yep. And her post-race comments, Leighton, she did mention how satisfied she was with her performance, because so far this season she has been a little bit stuttering and a little bit off her best. To come in Eugene and deliver the best performance she has by far so far this year was very, very satisfying for her.
Are we talking about Ross now or Shanika?
Shanika.
Okay, yeah, man. The thing is, as I said before, she had some knee issues early in the season, and she was struggling. I think she opened up with a 13.90, and she had some 14 lows before she found some rhythm in May and jumped 14.82. But after that, she dipped back down again to 14.30s and 14.40s. I think she had a 14.27 in there somewhere. But for her, look, one of the things that we know about Shanika Ricketts, her historically, she always brings her A game to the party. And of course, that's why it was such a surprise at the Olympics last year when she couldn't muster the usual Shanika Ricketts that we saw. So, for her this year, it was just a matter of getting everything together in time for the World Champions. When I spoke to her coach and her husband, Kerry Lee Ricketts, just prior to competition, he said she was okay now, meaning that she was ready to go. And of course, obviously, she delivered. This is probably her best series ever. 14.62 as well as 14.43, I think, and a 14.37 in the 6 jumps. But 3 jumps at 14.80, I know it tells you that she was prepared and she was ready to compete at her best here.
The men's 400 meters hurdles, Leighton, is what I want to go to next, because, of course, those who love track and field beyond the partisan considerations want to see the best athletes race. And in any event, there's a strong Caribbean interest in the men's 400 hurdles, not least because Rai Benjamin, the man with strong roots in Antigua and Barbuda running for the USA, is there. Of course, at the Olympics, we saw a performance for the ages from Karsten Warholm in winning, We know his injury troubles after, and we know that he perhaps is not at his best. Interestingly, Leighton, the word out of Tracktown is that when Rai Benjamin ran his heat, he stayed back to watch Varholm go in his heat, and he was interviewed right after, and he said, well, I was here looking because I don't want any excuses to be put up, if I win, to say, well, yeah, you only beat him because he wasn't at his best. Then they interviewed Varholm after, and he said, well, I'm happy that he stayed because this shows the healthy nature of the rivalry there. For Varholm and the shape he's in, for Rai Benjamin and the shape he's in, for what viewers saw at the Olympics, are we likely to get a repeat in Oregon, or is one man not at his best?
Well, put it this way, George. In his first race last year, Carson Varholm broke the long-standing world record of Kevin Young, 46.70. Took it down from 46.78. He's been out for 6 weeks now because we're almost a week into the World Championships, picking up that mild hamstring tear. I think it was in Rabat. I think it was. But the way he trains, the way he prepares, and the way he looked in the first round of the competition, he looks a little short of work, but a little short of Varholm means probably 46.70, 46.50. You don't know. The thing is that I think Rai Benjamin might be looking at the wrong person here, because Alison Dos Santos is the man who I believe will probably win this, regardless of what he wants to believe. Rai Benjamin might be overlooking the most dangerous man in the field, because coming into these championships, the 21-year-old Brazilian has run 46.80, which is the fastest time in the world by far. And we suspect that Rai is going to come back after a bout of COVID and run really, really fast. But can he run faster than a Brazilian? I think that will determine that sometime, well, by the time the finals roll around, in Oregon, because I think these three gentlemen, if you should use form this year and weigh in the factor of injury from Carson Varholm, you'd have to believe right now that the favorite has to be the Brazilian, with Rai Benjamin a close second. But Varholm has to be on the podium once he's healthy. Once he's here competing, I don't think there's anybody else close enough in the world to him, and not even Maggie, who I think is probably the next best. And the reality is that it could be any one of the top three, but my favorite for this event is Alison Dos Santos, regardless of what Rai Benjamin did.
And tactically, what will the Brazilian do in this event, Leighton? How will he run this race?
Well, what we've seen from him so far this year, George, is something that is absolutely ridiculous. He runs the first 200 like he's running a flat two. And if he does that, he's going to put pressure on Varholm and Rai Benjamin to keep pace with him. If they can't, they're not going to win, because when you look at that race that he ran, the 46.80 in, I had to watch that race twice just to make sure that there were hurdles in his lane, because he was going so quickly. And it seems to me that he's found a rhythm now and a race pattern that works for him. I mean, not that he didn't find it last year when he ran 46.72 in the Olympic Games for third. The reality is, though, that he looks even better this year, and I think we're about to see the best of him when the finals roll around.
Yeah. I have to mention Jahil Hyde out there on the outside, one of the outside lanes, the Jamaican. What are his prospects? Can he get anywhere near bronze based on your assessment?
I don't think so. I think if Jahil runs his best race and hopefully gets under 48 seconds, he'll probably be in the top 6. I think the field is deep, and I think the top 3 are just too good for him to even close. I mean, these guys are potential 46 runners. I don't think Jahil is anywhere close to that. So I think, for me, I would love to see him just run his best race and finish strong and perhaps end up with a season's best or a lifetime best. I think that would be a testament to his progress and, of course, to his development as a 400-meter hurdler. And let me just bring something in here, because I forgot to mention it yesterday. People are wondering, what has happened to Johan Blake, the 985 guy that we saw at the national championships. He's been running with an inflamed heel that was treated just before the start of the 100 meters. The doctors gave him the go-ahead to start running, to compete, but the reality is that he's still not at his best, because, as you know, George, running involves your heel as well, because that plantar fascia is crucial to your forward momentum.
Yes.
And if it's inflamed,
the base of your power.
So he's not going to be able to generate the kind of power that he wants to. And we saw that in the 100, and we saw it last night in the 200. I think he's advanced in the semifinals, but I think that's the end of the road for him, given his inability to be at his best, and given the quality of the field that he's about to go up against.
Yeah, and speaking of the men's 200-meter semi-final, Leighton, there's a Rastaman who works for the US track and field team, Leighton. He has his stick and he has his front. He's making a broom because he's set to sweep the 200 meters. Arian Knighton is catching birds. Noah Lyles has track down eating out of his hands. And Fred Curley is a man on a mission to do sprint double. Can anything get in and amongst these three American men in that 200 meters?
I think so. There's a young man who also wears locks, George, from Trinidad and Tobago called Jerry Richards, ran 19.83 at the Trinidad trials. And based on what I saw from him in the first round last night, he looks really good, and he looks like he can go a lot faster than the 1983. If he runs anywhere from 1980 down to 1970, which I think is very possible for Jerry, given the preparation that he's had this season and the confidence that he's going into this championship with, he could very well split up the Americans because, you know, this is a guy who's run a 43 really a leg, and he's really strong. And, you know, rolling door champion this year, that must have given him a lot of confidence, 45 flat. In what is March. So you're looking at a guy who is gradually getting better, and I think he's perhaps at his best this year. So if anybody is going to be able to break up that American triumvirate for the medals, I think Jerry Richards can.
Yeah, of course, I'm tempted to ask you about Rashid Dwyer and that Jamaican. But the man I'm going to ask you about is a guy I've had my eye on since his final year at NCAAs. We saw him at the Olympics last year. He runs in Heat 1 of the semifinals, the Liberian. Can he get into the final? Does Joseph Fanbule have the talent as he trained on from his Olympic performance for Liberia in Tokyo? Do you think produce the quality to get a lane in this 200 meters final?
I think so, but he's going to have to do a lot better in terms of his execution. I didn't like what I saw from him. It looks like he's not, how do I put this delicately? I don't think he's in the kind of form that is going to be able to generate his best performance here. I hope I'm wrong, because clearly he has the talent. And of course, you know, at the NCAA level, George, we've seen him run really, really well. Of course, I think he won the 100, didn't he? I mean, coming from behind. So you're looking at a really talented athlete. I'm just not sure that he's going to be talented enough to get into the top four. Maybe I'm wrong again, but, you know, after the NCAA season, it would be nice to see him in there. But the reality is that I think he might just come up short. But, you know, this is sport. You know, what is true is that Fanbule is never a sprinter who will pass the eye test. You'll never look at him and say, he doesn't run like that, but no. he generates his speed, and I was just asking as an outside shot. And of course I have to ask about Rashid Dwyer, because the best outcome for me is for Jareem the Dream to stand atop the podium as world champion, yeah, and that's a possibility given how well he's running right now, despite the claims of the Americans. But Rashid Dwyer, is he good enough to get a lane in the final, or is a bit off color now, you would say? I think Rashid can get into the final, and I'm saying this optimistically, and maybe with a little bit of insularity in my system here, because I feel so much for this young man. Remember, just a few years ago, he ran 1980 at the NACAC Senior Championships in Canada. And then I think he had Chick V, and then he had injury issues, and he has not been on his best. But this, I think, has been the best I've seen him in the past few years. And he looked pretty strong in the qualifying round, in the first round of the competition. So if he can be more consistent and get his times down to closer to 20 seconds, sure, he can get into the final. But, you know, I think this is a year when you're going to have to run 19.7 or faster to end up on the podium. But I'm hoping that Rashid Dwyer, because he deserves it. I think he really works hard, and he's been hit by some really unfortunate circumstances. But, you know, given the form that we've seen him come into these championships with, he's going to have to run close to 20 seconds flat to be able to navigate his way into the final.
Remind me how long you've been a journalist, Leighton? 30 how many years?
What was that?
Remind me how long you've been a journalist. 30 how many years?
Since 1990, August 1990 at the Gleaner.
So that would be 32.
2 years.
32. Yeah. All right, good. And from the time you've been covering track and field till now, women have been running in wigs and competing in wigs, correct?
Yeah. Yes. I don't know. I never paid attention before the last week.
Have you ever at any level, whether you're covering primary champs, high school champs in Jamaica, or any of the track meets you've gone to all over the world, or any of the major championships, seeing a woman in full stride in a sprint event or any event adjust her wig mid-competition?
Never. And that just tells you how good Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce is, George. For her to fix her here in the middle of her drive phase, no less. Because that is the crucial phase of any race that gets the momentum to continue to run at a high level of speed. And for her to have the presence of mind to fix her here while running and still run 22-26, Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce is remarkable. As Usain Bolt said, she's something special. And we're seeing more of that at these championships.
Yeah, Lance, you remember there was a video from Diamond League of the Nigerian, Blessing Okabari. You remember that one, Leighton? When Blessing landed in the pit and her hair and her wig fell off in the pit. Yeah. And the worst thing is that she couldn't go back to take it out because she would have fouled. Yeah. So she had to wait until they measured. So she had to stand there with this torn stocking foot over her head, and that was funny. But
and Jasmine as well, a hurdler from the United States.
Yes.
She's getting married and she just had a baby, so congratulations to her if you're listening. But she's been most remarkable. She came, I think she had the fastest time in the National Stadium in Kingston, 12:37, I think it was. But she's, but her wig has embarrassed her as well. But
Leighton, the potential for Caribbean fans, especially the Jamaicans, who are dreaming of 1, 2, 3, whatever order they get it in the women's 200 meters, the fly in the ointment, Abby Steiner, how well did she look in her heat?
She looks like Abby Steiner we've been seeing all season, George. And I think, look, I would not be surprised if only one Jamaican made that medal table in the finals of the 200s tonight. I think Shericka Jackson is the most likely to. When you look at, notwithstanding what we've seen from Shelly and, of course, Elaine, who complained about not getting enough time for recovery because they had to be in anti-doping until late after the 100-meter finals. I heard that Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce was up until 3 a.m. the following morning. So, they're still a little bit fatigued. But when you look at Abby Steiner, when you look at Seni, when you look at the British athlete, what is it that name's?
Dina Asher Smith. Dina Asher Smith. Dina.
And Masalingi as well.
Yeah, Masalingi as well. It's going to be really hard for the Jamaicans to get into that final and get onto the podium. Because I think what we've seen, especially from Steiner and Dina Asher Smith and Seni, 21.98 in her opening heat, suggests that she's ready to go a lot faster as well. So you're looking at, it's going to be a lot tougher, I believe, than the 100 meters, especially given the fact that Elaine's 22.05 is within the reach of most of those athletes, and of course surpassed by a few of them. But Abby Steiner looks like she's going to be on that podium one way or the other. And it's just about whether or not. Honestly, I think Shericka is going to win by a city block. But the second and third places are up for grabs, and it's not just for the Jamaicans.
All right, the Bahamian in heat one of the semi-finals, the Bahamian rather, in lane 8. Yeah. And of course, you have the Antiguans are waiting, Leighton, for you to say something good about Joella Lloyd in lane 1 of her semi-final.
Joella, I like her so much. I talked to her a lot when she was at tennis. She's graduated now. I just think this field is going to be a little bit too quick for her. But I think she's represented. Look, not everybody's good. There are only 3 spots available for the podium. Joella Lloyd is not among the best in the world, but she's the best from Antigua, and I think she's acquitted herself well at these championships and at the Olympics last year. I don't think Antiguans have anything to be ashamed about. In fact, I think they should be proud of her because she's held up several national records over both in the 60 meters and the 100 meters and 200 meters. And I think she's giving her best effort, and I think there's a lot to be proud of here. If she continues and becomes a professional, hopefully she'll get a lot better, and then she'll probably represent better. But at this current stage of her career, the times that she's running are just a bit short of what is expected at this level. But Joella Lloyd has represented Antigua really, really well, and they should hold their heads high whenever she competes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Leighton. Great having you on the show, and we'll be speaking with you throughout the week as we continue to cover the Worlds in Eugene, Oregon. I just wanted to mention that Tinia Gaither, the Bahamian, as you just mentioned, George, had false started in the semi-finals of the 100. As did the St. Lucian Julian Alfred. Huge disappointment for the 2 Caribbean athletes as we watched on. Gaither is in a 200 semi-final tonight and looking to rebound from that 100-meter disappointment.
Hope she channels that anger.
Yeah, but
because she was really angry.
Julian Alfred's false start was painful.
Heartbreaking.
Painful, yeah, heartbreaking. And it was so marginal.
Yeah.
Right.
Very, very marginal.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break. Come right back. Stay with SportsMax on YouTube and follow us on all social pages for updates, news, and entertainment.